I was still holding my morning coffee when the news showed my house in flames. A reporter said the blast would have taken out anyone inside instantly, and that's when my hands started shaking, because the old homeless woman who takes my spare change every morning grabbed my arm yesterday and whispered, "Do not go home tonight." I listened. I lived. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. 24 hours earlier, none of this made sense. I'd just opened my workshop at 7 in the morning, same as every day for the past 40 years. The sign outside read, Ardell's Heritage Music Restoration in faded gold letters. Inside, 3 unfinished projects waited on my benches. A 1902 Regina music box missing half its comb teeth, a coin-operated orchestrion from a shuttered Chicago pizzeria, and a French automaton bird that hadn't sung since Eisenhower was president. This wasn't the kind of work you found online. People drove 6 hours to bring me their family heirlooms because I was one of maybe 3 people left in Colorado who could actually fix them. The business made decent money, not millions, but enough to keep the lights on and leave something behind when I was gone. My son Keaton didn't see it that way. He showed up around 9, driving that leased BMW he couldn't really afford. I heard the door chime and looked up from the Regina's cylinder. He stood there in his realtor blazer, checking his phone like my workshop offended him personally. "Morning," I said. "We need to talk." He didn't look up. That offer from Westfield Industrial came back. They're willing to go higher. Westfield Industrial, the company that bought out every small restoration shop between Denver and Grand Junction, then gutted them for parts and customer lists. They'd been circling my business for 2 years. "Already told them no," I said. "Dad, be reasonable. They're offering 3 times what this place is worth." "It's worth what I say it's worth. I built it." Keaton finally looked at me. Something cold flickered behind his eyes. "You're 63. How much longer can you realistically keep doing this?" "Long as my hands work." "That's not a business plan. That's stubbornness." I set down my tools. "You didn't drive here to talk business strategy, Keaton. What do you really want?" He opened his mouth, closed it, then shook his head. "Forget it. You're impossible." He left. The BMW peeled out of the gravel lot hard enough to spray rocks against my window. I should have paid more attention to that visit. Should have noticed the desperation underneath the irritation. But I went back to the music box instead, losing myself in the precise work of filing tiny steel teeth until they rang true. Around noon, I locked up and drove to the supermarket. Tuesday routine, pick up sandwich materials, maybe some beer if it was on sale. The parking lot was half empty. I grabbed a cart and headed inside. That's when I saw Evelyn. She lived behind the dumpsters in the alley out back. I'd been giving her my spare change every morning for about 3 years now. Never asked her story. She never volunteered it. We had an understanding. I'd nod, hand over whatever coins were in my pocket. She'd say thank you, and we'd both go about our day. But today she was standing right by the entrance, near the shopping cart return. Her usual spot was around back. She looked agitated, shifting her weight from foot to foot, clutching a torn plastic bag. "Mr. Ardell," she said as I approached. I stopped. She'd never used my name before. "Evelyn, you all right?" "I need to tell you something." Her voice dropped low. "This morning, early, I was behind the store. I heard your son. He was on his phone talking loud. Too loud." My stomach tightened. "What did you hear?" She glanced around like someone might be listening. "He said tonight. He said he'd leave the burner open, said gas does the job itself, said you wouldn't survive the blast." The words hit me like cold water. "Oh, Evelyn." "He said he already took their money. Once the place is rubble, the workshop is theirs." Her eyes were clear, sharp, completely sober. "Do not go home tonight." A dozen thoughts crashed through my head at once. Keaton was desperate, sure, but planning something like this? My own son? "Are you certain that's what you heard?" "I'm old, Mr. Ardell. I'm not confused." She pressed something into my hand, a crumpled receipt with a phone number written on it. This was on the ground where he was standing. I think it fell from his pocket. I looked down. The number had a local area code. Below it, someone had written WI, final payment. Westfield Industrial. Evelyn stepped back. "I'm telling you because you're the only person in this whole town who looks at me like I'm human. Don't go home tonight." Then she shuffled away toward the alley, leaving me standing there with a shopping cart and a racing heart. I didn't buy groceries. I got back in my truck and drove toward home, then pulled over 2 blocks away. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Keaton was my son. I'd taught him to ride a bike. I'd sat through every soccer game, every school play, every parent-teacher conference. We'd grown apart over the years, sure, especially after his mother passed. But this? I pulled out my phone and stared at the receipt Evelyn had given me. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I called the number. It rang 4 times. A woman answered. Westfield Industrial, Accounts Department. I hung up. My chest felt tight. The pieces were clicking together in a way that made me sick. Keaton had been pushing me to sell for months. He'd been struggling financially. I knew that much from Haley, my daughter, who worked in logistics and kept tabs on family gossip. His wife Marissa ran some social media marketing company that looked successful online but probably burned through cash faster than it made any, and now Evelyn was telling me my son had taken money to make me disappear. I drove home. The house looked normal from the outside. 2-story Craftsman, blue siding that needed repainting, detached garage where I kept overflow inventory from the workshop. I'd lived here 38 years, raised both my kids here, buried my wife from here. I parked in the driveway and sat for a moment, studying the windows. Nothing looked different. No one was around. Quiet Tuesday afternoon in a quiet neighborhood. I got out and walked to the front door, put my key in the lock, stopped. There was a smell. Faint but unmistakable if you knew what to look for. Natural gas. I pulled the key back out and stepped off the porch. Walked around to the side of the house where the meter was. Nothing looked tampered with. I checked the connection to the main line, tight and secure. The smell was coming from inside. I pulled out my phone to call the gas company, then stopped. If this was what Evelyn heard, if Keaton had actually done something, calling it in might tip him off that I knew. And if I was wrong, if this was just a coincidence, I'd look like a paranoid old man accusing his son of attempting to cause serious harm. I needed to think. I got back in my truck and drove to the workshop, unlocked the side door, and went into the back office where I kept a cot for nights when I worked late. The space smelled like machine oil and old wood. Safe. Familiar. I sat down at my desk and tried to organize my thoughts. Option 1. Evelyn was mistaken. She'd heard something out of context, or maybe she was having a mental health episode. The gas smell was a coincidence, a leak that needed fixing but nothing sinister. Option 2. Keaton had actually done what she said. Had taken money from Westfield Industrial, had decided the fastest way to get my business was to make sure I wasn't around to say no. I wanted to believe option 1, wanted it so badly my chest ached. But I kept thinking about that phone call, about how quickly Keaton had gotten angry this morning, about the receipt with final payment written on it. My phone buzzed. Text from Keaton. Sorry about earlier. Want to grab dinner tomorrow? My treat. I stared at that message for a long time, then I texted back, Sure. Where? That steakhouse you like. 6 p.m.? Sounds good. I set the phone down and looked around my workshop. 40 years of my life in this room. Projects I'd finished, tools I'd collected, relationships with clients that spanned decades. My legacy, my purpose, and my son wanted to erase all of it for a payout from some corporate vulture. The anger came then, not hot and explosive, cold and clear, the kind of anger that sharpens your thinking instead of clouding it. I started making a plan. First, I needed proof. Real proof. Not just an overheard conversation and a suspicious phone number. Second, I needed to stay alive long enough to use it. Third, and this was the part that made my hands clench into fists, I needed to make sure Keaton and whoever was helping him couldn't just try again. I opened my laptop and started searching. Property records, business filings, financial disclosures. Westfield Industrial had expanded aggressively over the past 5 years, always through the same pattern. Approach a small heritage business, make an offer, and if that didn't work, wait for the owner to retire or pass away, then swoop in on the estate sale. They'd done it in Fort Collins, in Boulder, in Pueblo, 12 times in Colorado alone. I found articles about the company's CEO, a man named Vincent Hargrove who'd made millions consolidating niche industries. He looked exactly like you'd expect. Expensive suit, predatory smile, quotes about preserving heritage while modernizing operations. Translation: gut the expertise, sell the inventory, keep the customer list. Around 8 p.m., my phone rang. Haley. Hey, Dad, she said. Her voice had that careful tone she used when she wanted something. I heard you and Keaton got into it this morning. Not really, just a disagreement about the business. He's worried about you. We both are. I'm fine, sweetheart. Are you? Because you're 63 and still working 60-hour weeks in a workshop that's basically a fire hazard. It's not a fire hazard. Dad, please. We're just saying maybe it's time to think about slowing down. Enjoying retirement? You've earned it. There it was, the coordinated push. Keaton and Haley working together, probably with Marissa pulling strings behind the scenes. I like working, I said carefully. Gives me purpose. There are other ways to find purpose. Travel, hobbies. You could finally take that trip to Scotland you always talked about. Maybe someday. Silence on the line. Then, Keaton mentioned the Westfield offer came back. Have you actually looked at the numbers? It's a really good deal. I'm not interested in selling. Why not? What are you holding on to? Mom's gone. The house is too big for one person. The business is mine, I said, harder than I meant to. I built it. I decide when it ends. Another pause. Okay, I hear you. Just think about it. For us. Please. She hung up. I sat there in the dark workshop, surrounded by the ghosts of music that hadn't played in decades, and understood with perfect clarity that my children saw me as an obstacle. Not a father. Not a person with my own life and choices. An obstacle between them and money they'd already spent in their heads. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I went through every file cabinet in my office, pulled out contracts, receipts, correspondence with clients going back 20 years. I organized everything into two categories: proof of my business's value and anything that might connect to Westfield Industrial. Around 2 a.m., I found something interesting. A letter from 3 months ago, sent to my workshop but addressed to Estate Manager, Ardell Heritage Music Restoration. It was a boilerplate inquiry about purchasing the business should it become available through inheritance or estate settlement. They'd already been planning for my passing, just waiting for nature to take its course. Except Keaton had apparently decided nature was too slow. I made copies of everything, put the originals back, stored the copies in a fireproof safe. I kept bolted to the floor in the workshop bathroom. Then I finally lay down on the cot and closed my eyes. I woke up to hammering on the workshop door. Daylight streamed through the high windows. I checked my phone, 7:23 a.m. I'd slept maybe 3 hours. The hammering continued. "Dad, are you in there?" Keaton's voice. I got up, ran fingers through my hair, and opened the door. Keaton stood on the step looking frantic. Marissa was behind him, immaculate even at this hour in yoga pants and a designer jacket. "Why didn't you go home last night?" Keaton demanded. "I've been calling since 6. I checked my phone, 6 missed calls. I worked late, crashed here. What's the emergency?" "There's a gas leak at your house. The neighbors smelled it and called the fire department. They've got the whole street blocked off." My heart started pounding, but I kept my face neutral. "How bad?" "They don't know yet. But Dad..." He stepped closer, and I could see sweat on his forehead despite the cool morning. "They said if anyone had been inside, if there'd been a spark, I would have been gone," I finished. "Yeah." Something flickered across his face. Relief? Disappointment? It was there and gone too fast to read. "Thank God you stayed here." Marissa spoke up from behind him. "We should go see the house. Make sure everything's secure." "You two go ahead," I said. "I need to shower and change. I'll meet you there." "But I'm fine, Keaton. It's just a gas leak. Happens all the time. Go deal with the fire department, and I'll be there in 20 minutes. They exchanged a look. Then Keaton nodded, and they left. I watched through the window as their BMW pulled away. Then I locked the door, pulled out my phone, and called Evelyn's number, the one she'd written on the back of that receipt. She answered on the first ring. "Mr. Ardell?" "You saved my life," I said quietly. "Thank you." "Is it over?" "Not yet, but it will be. Can you tell me everything you remember about that conversation? Every single word?" She could, and she did. When she finished, I thanked her again and promised I'd find a way to help her once this was done. She told me not to worry about it. Said she'd been watching out for herself for 30 years and would keep doing it just fine. But I wouldn't forget. I showered in the workshop's small bathroom, changed into clean clothes I kept in a locker, and drove toward my house. 3 blocks away, I could see the fire trucks. Red and white lights flashing in the morning sun. Yellow caution tape blocking off my street. I parked and walked up to the perimeter. A firefighter stopped me. "Sorry, sir. Residents only beyond this point." "That's my house," I said, pointing to the blue Craftsman. His expression shifted to sympathy. "You're Mr. Ardell? We've been trying to reach you." "I stayed at my workshop last night. What happened?" "Gas leak from your stove. All 4 burners were open. The pilot lights were out. If you'd been sleeping in there..." He shook his head. "Someone would have found you in pieces." "How does something like that happen?" "We're still investigating. Could be mechanical failure. Could be..." He paused. "Could be a lot of things." "You notice anything unusual yesterday? Anyone in your house who shouldn't have been?" I thought about that gas smell, about Keaton's visit to the workshop, about the timing of everything. "No," I lied. "Nothing unusual." He nodded slowly, like he didn't quite believe me. Well, the gas company's shutting off your main line. You won't be able to stay here for a few days while we inspect everything. You have somewhere to go? The workshop. I'll be fine there. Good. And Mr. Ardell? He lowered his voice. I've been doing this 18 years. I've seen a lot of gas leaks. This one, the pattern's weird. 4 burners all open at once, pilots all out, main shutoff valve still working fine. That's not how these usually present. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe don't tell too many people where you're sleeping for the next little while, just to be safe. He walked away before I could respond. I stood there looking at my house, my home of 38 years, cordoned off like a scene from a detective show, and felt that cold anger solidify into something harder. Keaton had done this, had snuck into my house, probably with a key I didn't know he had, and set up a scenario designed to look like an accident. All for money, all for a business he couldn't run and didn't understand. My phone buzzed. Text from Keaton. Where are you? We're at the house. I texted back, talking to firefighters. Be there in a minute. But I didn't go find them. Instead, I walked around to the back of my property where the garage stood separate from the main house. The door was locked. I checked. But when I looked at the ground beneath the window, I saw fresh footprints in the dirt. Someone had been here recently. The footprints were from work boots. Size 11, maybe 12, with a distinctive tread pattern I didn't recognize. Not mine. I wore size 10. I took pictures with my phone from 3 different angles, then walked back around to find Keaton and Marissa. They were talking to a fire captain near one of the trucks. Keaton looked appropriately worried. Marissa had her phone out, probably documenting everything for social media. When they saw me, Keaton rushed over. Dad, are you okay? They said it could have been catastrophic. I'm fine. Just lucky I worked late. You can't keep doing that. Sleeping at the workshop, working all hours. This is exactly what we've been worried about. You're not taking care of yourself. I looked at my son, his expensive haircut, his realtor smile, his eyes that couldn't quite meet mine, and wondered when exactly I'd lost him. When had he stopped being the kid who helped me in the workshop, who asked questions about how the music boxes worked, who told me he wanted to build things with his hands just like his old man? I appreciate the concern, I said carefully, but I'm 63, not 90. I can handle myself. Marissa stepped closer. Tanner, maybe this is a sign. The house, the stress, trying to keep the business running alone. Maybe it's time to think about making some changes. What kind of changes? Well, she glanced at Keaton. We've been talking, and we think it might be healthier for everyone if you considered the Westfield offer seriously. No pressure, but the timing feels significant. The timing? Right. The timing of my near demise. I'll think about it, I said, knowing I wouldn't. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then the fire captain called Keaton over to sign something. Marissa went with him. I was alone near the trucks, watching firefighters pack up their equipment. That's when I saw it. Keaton's phone was sitting on the hood of his BMW, maybe 20 feet away. He must have set it down and forgotten it when he rushed over to me. The screen was facing up. I could see notifications popping up. I shouldn't have looked. Part of me knew it was wrong, knew I was crossing a line I couldn't uncross, but a bigger part of me needed to know the truth. I walked over casually, like I was just stretching my legs. Glanced down at the phone, 3 text messages from a contact labeled VH. Confirmed transfer pending completion. Documentation ready as discussed. Final amount $85K upon property acquisition. VH Vincent Hargrove, Westfield Industrial, $85,000. That's what my life was worth to my son. $85,000 and a business he'd immediately flip to corporate scavengers. I heard footsteps and stepped away from the car. Keaton came back, grabbed his phone, didn't seem to notice I'd been near it. Fire captain says we can probably get back in tomorrow, he said. They'll do a full inspection this afternoon. Dad, seriously, where are you going to stay? The workshop's fine. I've got a cot, a shower, everything I need. That's not sustainable long term. It's not long term, just until the house is cleared. He started to argue, then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face went tight. I need to take this. Work call. He walked away, phone pressed to his ear. I watched him go, watched the body language, hunched shoulders, anxious hand gestures. That wasn't a work call. That was a nervous man getting pressure from someone who'd paid him money and hadn't gotten results yet. Marissa touched my arm. Tanner, I know this is overwhelming, but we really do care about you. We want what's best. I know, I said, and smiled the way I'd learned to smile over the past 40 years in business. The smile that meant nothing and gave away less. I'll be fine. She studied me for a second, like she was trying to read something in my expression. Then she nodded and followed Keaton. I walked back to my truck and sat behind the wheel for a long moment. Then I drove to the public library 3 miles away, parked in their lot, and went inside. The reference librarian was a woman named Dorothy, who'd helped me research historical music box manufacturers before. She looked up when I approached the desk. "Mr. Ardell, research project?" "Something like that. I need to know how to file a formal complaint with the State Attorney General's office about corporate fraud and coercion, and I need to understand how to document evidence for potential criminal charges." Her eyebrows went up. "Are you in trouble?" "No, but someone else is about to be." She led me to a computer terminal and showed me the websites I needed. Then she brought me a notebook and 3 legal reference books about business law in Colorado. I spent 6 hours in that library. By the time I left, I understood exactly what I needed to do. I had a list of 13 specific documents to gather. I knew which state agencies to contact. I knew how to create a paper trail that would stand up in court. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that Keaton had made the biggest mistake of his life when he'd decided I was easier to eliminate than convince. I went back to the workshop as the sun was setting. Orange light slanted through the high windows, turning the dust motes into tiny floating stars. The space felt different now, not just a workplace, but a fortress. My last stronghold. I made coffee on the hot plate I kept in the office, then spread out all my notes from the library across the workbench. The Regina music box sat there half-finished, its cylinder frozen mid-song. I stared at it for a moment, then got to work. First item, bank statements. I logged into my business account online and started downloading records. 6 months of transactions. Nothing unusual in my own account. Steady income from client work, regular expenses, no red flags. But I knew Keaton had received money. $85,000 from Vincent Hargrove. That money had to exist somewhere. I called Haley. She answered on the second ring. "Dad, everything okay?" "Fine. Quick question. You work in logistics, you deal with financial transactions all the time. If someone wanted to hide a large payment, how would they do it?" Silence. Then, "That's a weird question. Just curious, something I read online." "Well," she sounded cautious. "Usually it's through an LLC. You set up a shell company, run the payment through that, then distribute it as consultant fees or business expenses. Makes it look legitimate on paper. Why?" "Article about corporate fraud. Interesting stuff." "Dad, are you okay? You sound strange." "Long day. House thing has me rattled." "I'm fine, sweetheart. Go back to whatever you were doing." I hung up before she could ask more questions. LLC. Shell company. I pulled up Colorado's business registry and started searching. It took 40 minutes and 3 different search parameters, but I finally found it. KAM Consulting Services, LLC. Registered 3 months ago. Owner, Keaton Ardell. Marissa's maiden name was Kimball. KAM. Keaton and Marissa. I clicked through to the filing documents. One listed contract, consulting services for Westfield Industrial Holdings. Payment amount, $85,000. Date of payment, 2 weeks ago. Terms, upon successful acquisition of Ardell Heritage Music Restoration and associated property. I sat back and stared at the screen. There it was. Proof, clear and documented, that my son had taken money from Westfield contingent on them getting my business. All they needed was for me to be gone. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then I hit accept. "Hello? Mr. Ardell?" A man's voice, smooth and professional. "This is Vincent Hargrove from Westfield Industrial. I heard about the incident at your home. Terrible thing. I wanted to reach out personally and see if there's anything we can do to help during this difficult time." The sheer audacity. "That's kind of you, Mr. Hargrove, but I'm managing." Of course, of course. I also wanted to revisit our previous conversation about acquiring your business. Given recent events, I imagine your perspective might have shifted. Sometimes a crisis helps us see what really matters. And what would that be? Family, security, making sure the people we love are taken care of. A business is just a business, Mr. Ardell, but family is irreplaceable. The irony of him saying that. Him, who'd paid my son to make sure I didn't survive the week. "I appreciate the call," I said carefully. "But my position hasn't changed. I'm not interested in selling." A pause. When he spoke again, the warmth was gone from his voice. "I see. Well, the offer remains open should you reconsider. Though I should mention, these opportunities don't stay available indefinitely." "Is that a threat, Mr. Hargrove?" "Merely an observation. Business is about timing. Right now, the timing is advantageous for you. Next month, next year. Who knows what circumstances might change. I'll keep that in mind. Please do. And Mr. Ardell? I'd hate for any more unfortunate accidents to occur. Colorado can be such a dangerous place. He hung up. I set the phone down and discovered my hands were shaking. Not from fear, from rage. They weren't even pretending anymore. This was naked intimidation, delivered with corporate polish, but unmistakable in intent. I pulled up my email and started composing a message to the Colorado Attorney General's office. Attached copies of the LLC documents. Detailed the payment to Keaton. Described the phone call from Hargrove. Time-stamped and still in my recent call log. Then I stopped before hitting send. If I filed this complaint now, it would trigger an investigation. Slow, bureaucratic, uncertain. Meanwhile, I'd be a target. They'd already tried once to eliminate me. What would stop them from trying again, especially now that they knew I was aware and digging into their scheme? I needed something bigger, something that would hit them so hard they couldn't recover fast enough to retaliate. I deleted the draft email and opened a new document, spent the next 3 hours building what my wife used to call my investigator mode. She'd seen me do this a few times over the years, when a client accused me of damaging an heirloom, when a competitor tried to poach my customers with lies, when the city threatened to rezone my workshop out of existence. I'd get quiet, methodical, relentless. I'd gather every fact, document every detail, build cases so airtight no one could argue. By midnight, I had a spreadsheet showing Westfield Industrial's pattern of acquisitions. 12 heritage businesses in Colorado alone, all within 5 years. 8 of those acquisitions came after the original owner passed away or suffered sudden health crises. 2 came after suspicious fires destroyed inventory. 1 came after the owner was hospitalized following a car accident that witnesses said looked deliberate. I cross-referenced those incidents with Keaton's travel history. Easy to find through his social media, because Marissa documented everything. He'd been in Fort Collins when one fire happened. In Boulder, when another owner had their accident. My son wasn't just complicit, he was their closer. I woke at dawn on the cot, stiff and angry. Coffee first. Then I made a call I'd been putting off. Detective Lisa Wong answered on the 3rd ring. Ardell, long time. We'd worked together 5 years ago when someone stole $15,000 worth of antique movements from my workshop. She'd recovered them and arrested the thief within a week. Smart, thorough, didn't miss details. I need advice, I said. Off the record. I'm listening. I told her everything. The gas leak, Evelyn's warning, the payment to Keaton, Hargrove's phone call, the pattern of incidents around other acquisitions. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You have proof of the LLC payment? She finally asked. Downloaded from state records. And you can produce the witness who overheard the plan? She's nervous, but she'll talk if it means keeping other people safe. And the firefighter said the gas leak looked intentional? Strongly implied it, yeah. Another pause. Tanner, this is bigger than local PD. If Westfield's running a systematic intimidation scheme across the state, that's corporate fraud, conspiracy, possibly racketeering. You need federal attention. How do I get that? Build the case airtight, then bring it to the FBI's white-collar crimes unit. But here's the thing. You need to be smart about this. If they think you're onto them, if they panic, they might accelerate. Get more aggressive. What do you suggest? Keep acting normal. Don't tip your hand. Meanwhile, I'll make some calls, see if anyone else has filed complaints about Westfield that didn't go anywhere. Sometimes these things are bigger than anyone realizes because victims don't talk to each other. Thank you. Be careful, Tanner. People who are willing to blow up a house won't hesitate to do worse if they feel cornered. We hung up. I spent the morning working on the Regina music box. Partly because it needed to be finished for a client, partly because I needed my hands busy while my mind worked through scenarios. The precise work calmed me, filing teeth to exact pitches, adjusting tension on the governor, testing each note until it rang true. Around 11, the workshop door opened. I looked up, half expecting Keaton. It was Evelyn. She stood in the doorway looking uncertain, like she might bolt at any second. I'm sorry to bother you. The door was unlocked. You're not bothering me. I set down my tools. Come in. She stepped inside, looking around at the workbenches and half-finished projects with wonder. I've walked past this place 1,000 times. Never saw inside. Not many people do. It's specialized work. Most folks don't even know businesses like this exist anymore. It's beautiful, she said quietly. Then she turned to me. I've been scared ever since I told you. Scared he'll find out I overheard. Scared he'll come after me. He won't. I promise you that. How can you promise something like that? Because by the time I'm done, he'll have much bigger problems than worrying about witnesses. She studied my face for a long moment. You're going to hurt him. I'm going to stop him from hurting anyone else. There's a difference. Is there? Because you look like a man planning something permanent. I didn't answer right away. When I did, I chose my words carefully. My son tried to end my life for money. He's part of a pattern that's destroyed at least 12 other families across this state. If I don't stop him, he'll do it again and again. So yes, I'm planning something permanent. But I'm not planning harm, I'm planning justice. Evelyn nodded slowly. Okay, then I'll help. Whatever you need. I need you to be safe. That's what I need. Is there somewhere you can stay for a few days? Somewhere they wouldn't think to look? I've got a cousin in Alamosa. Haven't talked to her in 10 years, but she'd take me in. Go there, today. I'll give you money for a bus ticket. I don't want your money. It's not charity, it's protection for both of us. If something goes wrong, I need to know you're somewhere safe where you can tell your story. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay. I pulled $200 from my wallet and handed it over. She took it reluctantly. One more thing, I said. I need you to write down everything you remember about that conversation. Every word, every detail, date, time, location, sign, and date it. Then mail it to this address. I handed her a piece of paper with Detective Wong's information. Don't put a return address. Just mail it and get on that bus. You think something's going to happen? I think I'm about to make some powerful people very angry, and I want to make sure all the evidence exists in multiple places before I do. She left 20 minutes later. I watched through the window as she walked toward the bus stop 3 blocks away, clutching the envelope with a written statement. Then I went back to work. The call came at 2 p.m, blocked number. Hello? Dad, where are you? Keaton sounded stressed. Workshop. Why? We need to talk. In person. Can you meet me at the house in an hour? The house. The one that had been cleared by fire inspectors that morning. The one with a gas line that had mysteriously opened itself. What's this about? Please. It's important. 1 hour. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding the phone, weighing options. This could be another setup. Could be an ambush. Could be Keaton finally cracking under pressure and ready to confess. Or it could be nothing. Just a son wanting to talk to his father about next steps after a crisis. I called Detective Wong, got voicemail, left a message. Keaton wants to meet at my house in an hour. If you don't hear from me by 4 p.m., something's wrong. Then I made a decision that was probably stupid, but felt necessary. I drove to the house. Keaton's BMW was already in the driveway when I arrived. The caution tape was gone. The fire trucks departed. Just my blue Craftsman house sitting quiet in the afternoon sun like nothing had ever happened. I parked on the street and walked up. The front door was ajar. I pushed it open. Keaton? In the kitchen. I followed his voice through the living room. The house smelled like gas dissipator chemicals and burnt coffee. Keaton stood by the stove, staring down at the burners. They said all 4 were open, he said without turning around. Pilot lights out, like someone did it deliberately. That's what it looks like, yeah. He finally turned to face me. He looked terrible. Bloodshot eyes, wrinkled shirt, 2 days of stubble. Dad, I need to tell you something. My heart started pounding. I'm listening. I've made some mistakes, bad ones, and I don't know how to fix them. What kind of mistakes? He opened his mouth, closed it. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his face went pale. I have to take this. Keaton. But he was already walking out of the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear. I heard his voice from the living room, too quiet to make out words, but the tone was clear, defensive, frightened, pleading. I looked around the kitchen. The stove was new. I'd replaced it 2 years ago. Digital controls, safety features, automatic shutoff. Not the kind of thing that just randomly opened all 4 burners and shut off the pilot lights. I pulled out my phone and took pictures. Wide shots of the whole kitchen, close-ups of the stove, images of the floor and counters. Evidence of nothing specific, but maybe something would matter later. Keaton came back. His face was even paler now. I have to go. Work emergency. We'll talk later. Keaton, what's going on? Nothing. Everything's fine. I have to go. He practically ran out of the house. I heard the BMW start, heard gravel spray as he peeled out. I stood alone in my kitchen. The kitchen where I'd cooked breakfast for my kids every Saturday for 15 years, where my wife had taught Haley to bake cookies, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays and normal Tuesday nights, and felt the last piece of doubt crumble away. Whatever was happening, it was accelerating. Keaton was cracking. Hargrove was applying pressure. and I was running out of time to control the situation before it controlled me. I locked up the house and went back to the workshop, pulled up my laptop and started drafting documents. Not complaints to agencies, not reports to police. Something different. A press release. 2 hours later, I had it finished. 23 pages detailing Westfield Industrial's pattern of suspicious acquisitions, documented incidents, financial payments to Keaton, the attempt on my life, and a call for state and federal investigation. I attached copies of every piece of evidence I'd gathered. Then I compiled a media list. 12 reporters who covered business and crime in Colorado. 3 investigative journalists who specialized in corporate malfeasance. 2 documentary filmmakers who'd done work on white-collar crime. I didn't send it yet. This was my nuclear option. Once this went public, there was no walking it back. Keaton would face criminal charges. Hargrove would face investigation. Westfield Industrial would implode. And I would have to live with the knowledge that I'd destroyed my son's life. My phone rang. Haley. Dad, what did you say to Keaton? He just called me completely panicking. I didn't say anything. He's the one who wanted to meet. He said you were asking him about mistakes, about things he'd done. What's going on? Haley, I need you to be honest with me. Did you know about the payment from Westfield? Silence. Haley? I didn't know the details. Keaton said they were consulting for some company. Said it was legitimate work. It's not legitimate. It's a payoff. They gave him $85,000 contingent on them getting my business after I'm gone. More silence. Then quietly, after you're gone, how? However they could make it happen. The gas leak wasn't an accident. I heard her breath catch. No. Keaton wouldn't. He couldn't. He did. I have proof. Dad, please. He's desperate. His real estate business is failing. Marissa's company is bleeding money. They're drowning in debt. He made a stupid decision, but he's not a criminal. He's your son. He tried to end my life, Haley. You don't know that for sure. Maybe the gas leak was coincidence. Maybe... Stop. Just stop defending him. I know what happened. I know what he did. And I know you're helping him cover it up right now. Silence. Are you? I pressed. Are you part of this? I'm trying to keep this family together. Her voice broke. Mom's gone. You're obsessed with that workshop. Keaton's failing. I'm the only one holding anything together. So yes, I knew he needed money. Yes, I knew he was working with some company. But I didn't know about the house. I swear I didn't know. I wanted to believe her. Wanted it desperately. Then help me, I said. Help me stop this before it gets worse. Tell me everything you know about Keaton's arrangement with Westfield. I can't do that. Why not? Because he's my brother. Because family protects family. That's what Mom would have wanted. Mom would have wanted the truth. She would have wanted justice. No, she would have wanted us together, all of us, not torn apart because of money and pride and... She stopped. I have to go. Haley. The call went silent. I sat in the dark workshop as evening turned to night, staring at my laptop screen. The press release glowed in front of me, ready to send. One click and this whole thing would explode into public view. But Haley's words kept echoing. Family protects family. Was I protecting my family by destroying Keaton? Or was I just taking revenge, dressing it up as justice? My phone rang. Detective Wong. Got your message, she said. You okay? Fine. Meeting was weird, but not dangerous. Good. Listen, I made those calls. Found something interesting. Westfield Industrial is already under investigation by the Colorado State Attorney General. Has been for 6 months. 3 separate complaints from family members of deceased business owners who claimed their loved ones were coerced or intimidated before their passing. My pulse quickened. Why hasn't anything happened? They're building a case. These things take time. But here's the relevant part. They'd love to talk to you. You'd be a living victim, not just grieving family making accusations. Your testimony could be the piece that breaks this open. What do I need to do? Meet with them. Bring all your evidence. They'll put you in contact with the FBI if it's as big as it looks. But Tanner, once you do this, you're committed. There's no protecting Keaton. He'll face charges. I understand. Do you? Because this isn't just about justice. This is your son, your family. Are you prepared for what comes after? I looked around my workshop. 40 years of work. A lifetime of building something with my hands, creating beauty from gears and cylinders and precise mechanical timing. My legacy. He tried to end my life, I said quietly. Not in a moment of anger, not in passion. He planned it. Took money for it. Would have succeeded if a homeless woman hadn't warned me. So yeah, I'm prepared. Because if I don't stop him now, what's to stop him from trying again? Or doing this to someone else? Okay, I'll set up the meeting. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., at the AG's downtown office. Come alone. Bring everything you have. We hung up. I spent the night organizing evidence into 3 identical folders. Documents, bank records, screenshots, photographs, witness statements, everything chronologically ordered and labeled. 1 folder for the AG, 1 for my lawyer, 1 for my personal records. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You're making a serious mistake. Last chance to reconsider. No signature, but I knew who it was from. Vincent Hargrove. I texted back, "See you in court." His response came 10 seconds later. "You'll be lucky to see next week." I forwarded both texts to Detective Wong, then turned off my phone. Sleep came in fragments. I'd drift off, then jolt awake, convinced I smelled gas. Once, around 3 a.m., I actually got up and checked all the connections in the workshop, made sure everything was sealed tight. Paranoia or reasonable caution? Hard to tell anymore. At 7 a.m., I gave up trying to sleep, made coffee, showered, put on my best clothes, the suit I wore to client meetings, the one that said I was a professional who took things seriously. The Attorney General's office was downtown in a tall glass building. I parked in a visitor spot and rode the elevator to the 9th floor, clutching my folder like a life preserver. The receptionist directed me to a conference room. 2 people were waiting, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an expensive pantsuit, and a younger man taking notes on a laptop. "Mr. Ardell?" The woman stood and offered her hand. "I'm Assistant Attorney General Patricia Mills. This is Investigator James Chen. Thank you for coming in." We shook hands. I sat down across from them. "Detective Wong spoke very highly of you," Mills said. "She indicated you have information about Westfield Industrial Holdings and their business practices." "I do." I slid the folder across the table. "That's everything I've documented over the past 4 days. Payment records, witness statements, communication logs, pattern analysis of their previous acquisitions." Mills opened the folder and started reading. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her eyes narrow, saw Chen glance at her with raised eyebrows. After 10 minutes, she looked up. "This is remarkably thorough. I've had practice building cases. Different context, but same principles. The incident at your home. You believe this was a deliberate attempt on your life?" "I know it was. I have a witness who overheard my son planning it. I have evidence he received payment contingent on my business becoming available. And I have a firefighter's opinion that the gas leak pattern was inconsistent with mechanical failure." "Your son?" Mills leaned forward. "You understand that if we pursue this, Keaton Ardell will face serious criminal charges? Conspiracy, attempting to cause severe harm, at minimum. Possibly more, depending on what else we uncover." "I understand. And you're prepared to testify against him?" I thought about Keaton at 6 years old, helping me fix a broken music box in the garage. Thought about him at 16, saying he wanted to follow in my footsteps. Thought about him 2 days ago, standing in the kitchen where he'd set up my demise, unable to meet my eyes. "Yes," I said. "I'm prepared." Mills nodded slowly. "Then let's talk about what happens next." The meeting lasted 3 hours. Mills asked questions, I provided answers. Chen typed everything into his laptop, occasionally stopping me to clarify dates or details. They were thorough, professional, and by the end, clearly convinced this was bigger than just one incident. "We're going to move fast on this," Mills said as we wrapped up. "Today's Wednesday. By Friday afternoon, we'll have warrants for Keaton's financial records, phone records, and business documents. We'll also be requesting the same for Vincent Hargrove and Westfield Industrial. Once we execute those warrants, things will escalate quickly." "Meaning what?" "Meaning your son will know you cooperated with this investigation. Meaning Westfield will know their operations are under scrutiny. Meaning you need to be very careful for the next 72 hours. "I can handle myself." "I don't doubt that. But Tanner?" She looked at me seriously. "These people have already tried once. Don't assume they won't try again, especially now that they know they're under investigation." "What do you suggest?" "Stay visible. Don't go anywhere alone. Keep Detective Wong updated on your location, and if anyone approaches you, Keaton, Hargrove, anyone associated with Westfield, don't engage. Call 911 immediately." I left the AG's office at noon feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because I'd finally taken action, gotten the law involved, set in motion something bigger than my personal revenge. Heavier because I'd just signed my son's future away. My phone had 17 missed calls when I turned it back on. 9 from Keaton, 6 from Haley, 2 from Marissa. I didn't call any of them back. Instead, I drove to a cafe across from the workshop and sat by the window where I could watch the entrance. Ordered lunch I didn't eat. watched people walk past. Normal people, living normal lives, not dealing with family members who tried to end them. Around 2 p.m., Keaton's BMW pulled up outside the workshop. He got out and tried the door. Locked. He peered through the window, tried calling me. I watched his face when the call went to voicemail. Frustration giving way to fear, giving way to anger. He pounded on the door. "Dad, I know you're in there. We need to talk." I stayed in the cafe across the street, watching. He made 4 more calls, left 3 voicemails I didn't listen to, then finally gave up and drove away. My phone buzzed. Text from Haley. "Please call me. Keaton's losing it." "What happened?" I texted back. "He's about to face consequences for his actions. So is Westfield. Stay out of it." "I can't stay out of it. He's my brother." "Then you'll go down with him." No response. I sat in that cafe until sunset, drinking coffee and watching my workshop like a hawk guarding prey. Around 6, Detective Wong called. "Mills briefed me. You okay?" "Physically, yeah. And otherwise?" "Ask me in a week." "Fair enough. Listen, the warrants are moving faster than expected. They might execute tomorrow instead of Friday. You should know that once that happens, Keaton will figure out you were the source." "I know." "You prepared for that confrontation?" "No, but it's coming either way." She was quiet for a moment. "You're doing the right thing, Tanner. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you are." "Doesn't change the fact that I'm destroying my family." "Your son destroyed your family when he decided $85,000 was worth more than your life. You're just making sure there are consequences." We hung up. I drove back to the workshop after dark, parked around back instead of out front, unlocked the door carefully, listening for any sound of someone inside. Empty. I locked it behind me and checked every room before settling in the office. Pulled out my laptop and opened my email. Mills had sent over a preliminary timeline of how the investigation would proceed. Reading it made everything feel real in a way it hadn't before. Tomorrow, warrants executed. Keaton and Hargrove would be brought in for questioning. Friday, their lawyers would demand deals. The AG would refuse. Next week, grand jury convened. Indictments likely. Month from now, trial proceedings begin. And through all of it, I'd be the star witness. The father testifying against his son. The man who chose justice over family. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello?" "You self-righteous fool." Vincent Hargrove's voice was pure venom now, the corporate polish completely gone. "You think you've won? You think going to the Attorney General makes you safe?" "I think it makes me a lot safer than I was 3 days ago." "You've made an enemy of people far more powerful than you understand. The AG's office, that's paperwork, that's lawyers. We're talking about your life, Ardell, your actual physical existence. Is that another threat? Because I'm recording this call and it's being forwarded in real time to the Colorado State Attorney General's office." Silence. Then, "You're bluffing. Test me." He hung up. I wasn't actually recording. Didn't have that capability set up. But he didn't know that. And the fear in his voice when I'd said it told me everything I needed to know. He was panicking. They all were. Good. I spent the evening doing what I always did when stressed. Worked on the music boxes. The Regina was almost finished now, just needed final tuning and a polish. I lost myself in the precise work, letting muscle memory guide my hands while my mind drifted. Around midnight, I heard a car pull up outside. I shut off the lights and moved to the window. Keaton's BMW sat in the parking lot, engine running. The driver's door opened. Keaton got out, followed by Marissa. They stood by the car, clearly arguing. I couldn't hear words, but body language told the story. Keaton gesturing frantically, Marissa looking around like she expected cops to appear any second. Then they started walking toward the workshop entrance. I pulled out my phone, dialed 911, kept my finger over the call button. Moved to the door and stood to the side, out of view through the window. Keaton knocked. "Dad, I know you're in there. Your truck's around back." I didn't answer. "Please, we need to talk. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Still nothing from me. "Dad, they're going to arrest me tomorrow. The Attorney General's office called my lawyer. They have warrants. They know about the payment, about Westfield, about everything. I need to know, did you give them that information?" Silence. "It was you, wasn't it? You went to the police, gave them evidence, testified against me?" I almost responded, almost opened that door. But something held me back. Maybe the memory of that firefighter saying the gas leak looked intentional. Maybe the knowledge that my son had accepted money to make sure I didn't survive this week. "Fine," Keaton said. His voice changed, got colder. "You want to play it this way? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Tomorrow they'll arrest me, maybe Hargrove too. They'll charge us with conspiracy, fraud, attempted serious harm. My lawyer says we're looking at 20 years if it goes to trial. 20 years, Dad, for trying to speed up something that was going to happen anyway when you retire or pass away naturally. Marissa spoke up for the first time. This is ridiculous. We should go. No, he needs to hear this. Needs to understand what he's doing. Keaton moved closer to the door. You think you're getting justice? You're just getting revenge. And it's not even smart revenge. Because guess what happens if I go to prison? Haley cuts you off completely. Your granddaughter grows up never knowing you. You end up alone in this workshop, surrounded by broken toys nobody cares about anymore. That's your future, Dad. That's what you're choosing. I felt my hand tighten on the phone, felt anger rising hot in my chest. So here's my offer, Keaton continued. You call the AG tomorrow morning. Tell them you made a mistake, misunderstood the situation, whatever story works. I give the money back to Westfield. We all walk away. You keep your business, I keep my freedom, and we forget this ever happened. He waited. I stayed silent. Dad, please. I'm your son. Doesn't that mean anything? And that's when I opened the door. Keaton took a step back, startled. Marissa's hand went to her purse. You're right, I said quietly. You're my son. Which is why what you did hurts so much worse than if a stranger had tried this. Because a stranger wouldn't know which night I'd be home, wouldn't have a key to let themselves in, wouldn't know exactly how to make it look like an accident. I didn't... Stop lying. My voice was steel now. I have a witness. I have bank records. I have your communications with Hargrove. I know everything, Keaton. The only thing I don't know is when exactly you stopped seeing me as your father and started seeing me as an obstacle. Keaton's face crumpled. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Hargrove said it would be quick, painless, you wouldn't suffer. Just go to sleep and not wake up. And afterward, we'd use the insurance and the business sale to set up a foundation in your name, preserve your legacy while making sure the family was secure. A foundation? I almost laughed. You were going to honor me with a foundation after erasing me? We were desperate. Marissa's company is failing. My real estate business is underwater. We're drowning in debt. $85,000 was just the start. Westfield was going to pay another $200 once the business transferred. That money would have saved us. So you decided I had to stop existing for $285,000. It's not about the money, Keaton's voice broke. It's about survival, about making sure Marissa and I don't lose everything we've built, about taking the easy way out instead of doing the hard work of fixing your problems. I stepped closer. I've built 3 successful businesses in my life, Keaton. Lost 2 of them to recessions and bad timing. Each time I started over, found a way, did the work. I never once thought the solution was making someone else disappear. Marissa finally spoke. This is pointless. He's already made his choice. We need to go. But Keaton wasn't done. You self-righteous piece of... He lunged forward. I saw it coming. 40 years of working with my hands, dealing with heavy machinery, staying physically capable because my livelihood demanded it, all of that came into play in a single moment. I sidestepped. Keaton stumbled past me into the workshop. He caught himself on a workbench, spun around, saw the wooden clamp I used for holding large pieces during restoration, 2 feet long, solid oak, heavy as a baseball bat. He grabbed it. Put it down, I said. Or what? You'll call the cops? They're already coming for me tomorrow. What difference does it make? Keaton, please. He swung. I moved. The clamp whistled past my head, close enough that I felt the air displace. Keaton was off balance from the swing. I stepped in, drove my shoulder into his chest, pushed hard. He went backward. The clamp fell from his hands. He tripped over his own feet and hit the ground hard, the air leaving his lungs in a sharp gasp. I picked up the clamp, stood over him. Don't, Marissa said from the doorway. Her phone was out, camera pointed at us. Whatever you're thinking, don't. I'm recording. I looked down at Keaton, my son, my boy, the child I'd raised and loved and taught to ride a bike, sprawled on my workshop floor, defeated. I'm not going to do anything, I said, because I'm not like you. I don't solve problems by eliminating people. I set the clamp down on the workbench, pulled out my phone and called 911 for real this time. What are you doing? Keaton struggled to sit up. Making sure you can't hurt anyone else. The 911 operator answered. I gave them the address, explained that my son had just attempted to attack me, that I'd defended myself, and that I was holding him until police arrived. You can't do this, Marissa said. Watch me. Keaton sat on the floor, breathing hard, staring at me with a mixture of fear and hatred I'd never seen before. "I'm your son." "I know," I said, "and that's the only reason you're still conscious." Sirens in the distance, growing closer. Keaton started crying. Not tears of remorse, tears of rage and frustration and defeat. "This isn't over. Even if I go to prison, Westfield will come after you. Hargrove doesn't forgive people who cost him money. You've signed your own ending, Dad. You just don't know it yet." "Maybe," I said, "but at least I'll go out on my feet, not on my knees." The sirens were right outside now, red and blue lights flashing through the workshop windows. Detective Wong was the first through the door, 3 uniformed officers behind her. "Mr. Ardell?" She took in the scene, me standing calm, Keaton on the floor, Marissa by the door with her phone still recording. "He attacked me," I said simply. "I defended myself. It's done." Wong nodded, turned to the uniforms. "Take them both in. Assault charges for Keaton Ardell. The wife's a witness, so keep her separate." As they cuffed Keaton and let him out, he looked back at me one last time. "I hope it was worth it, Dad. I hope your precious justice keeps you warm at night when you're all alone." Then he was gone. Marissa followed, still recording, already probably calling their lawyer. I stood in my workshop, my sanctuary, my life's work, my last stronghold, and felt the weight of everything crash down at once. Detective Wong touched my arm gently. "You okay? Ask me in a month?" "Fair enough." She looked around the workshop, taking in the music boxes and tools and decades of accumulated expertise. "For what it's worth? You did the right thing?" "Doesn't feel like it. It never does. That's how you know it's actually right." She left to file her report. I locked up the workshop and sat down on the cot, too exhausted to even think about sleep. My phone buzzed. Text from Haley. "I heard. Don't ever contact me again." Then a text from Mills at the AG's office. "Heard about the incident. This actually helps our case. Call me tomorrow." And finally, inexplicably, a text from Evelyn. "You still alive?" I texted her back. "Yeah. How's Alamosa?" "Quiet. Boring. Safe. Did you get him?" "I got him." "Good. Don't let him break you. Men like that count on good people being too tired to fight back. You keep fighting." I smiled for the first time in days. Then I turned off my phone, lay back on the cot, and stared at the ceiling until dawn. The workshop around me was silent. The music boxes sat frozen mid-song, waiting for someone to wind them up and let them sing again. I'd wind them tomorrow. Tonight, I just needed to survive. And I had. Against all odds, despite everything they'd thrown at me, I'd survived.